In the 44th millennium, mankind knows only war, beset on all sides and from within. Each day, thousands of faithful lives are sacrificed in the Emperor's name. Each life but a fleeting memory in the Imperium archives, as untold billions toil to preserve mankind.
Inquisitor Rooch of the Ordo Xenos calmly keyed the entry code to the cell door. The biometric scanners began mapping her face. She is a woman in her mid-50s, kept young by many Rejuve treatments, making her look not over 30. Hours of redefined jawline and her sculpted features are illuminated by a red light as the machine determines if she is authorized to enter. The light dies, and a green floodlight illuminates, granting her access as the cell door slides open. The cell is unremarkable. In it sits a man, old, withered, and bald. The metal table and his chair are securely bolted to the floor. In the corner, a server skull rests. It hovered and logged all conversations from a rolled parchment and quill where its jaw should have been.
Begin transcription. Do you know why you're here, Thaddeus, son of Adelium of House Constans?
I have my presumptions. Maybe it is from my father's hobbies. Maybe it is of information. And maybe it is for the information in certain aspects of things you do not fully understand.
So you have an idea then. Let us cut to the chase. This world is now in open revolt against the God Emperor's holy rule. The entire planet of Constans, whom your family ancestors once colonized, now stands on the precipice. Mobs of chaos worshippers pour from Hive Tyrannius. The taint has spread throughout all facets of imperial society. All this because of your family. They say their messiah is here amongst them, yet nothing's been seen. What say you to these events?
A thin smile appears on Thaddeus's face.
You have been on this investigation only recently with the death of your master. Your master before you worked with my family. You could say we were acquainted. Yet, we of House Constans taught him our ways. To continue this story, if you have a litho stick, I'll take one.
Inquisitor Rooch reaches into an inside pocket of her rich leather coat, pulling out a lighter and polished metal case. Opening down the center, 2 neat rows of 8 litho sticks on each side were neatly arranged. Inquisitor Rooch removed 2, placing both in her mouth and lighting them. She hands one to Thaddeus as he takes a long drag.
Continue, Thaddeus.
Your old master was curious of the war. I was once his prisoner, similar to this situation now. We had an accord, though. He was brought into my family's fold. He didn't even know our deep underground library at the Summer Estate. Could you believe that? He brought him there. He read from our tomes, some older than even the settlement of this planet. One thing he wanted to learn, though, always abated his knowledge. Do you know what that information was, girl?
My master was no dogmatic follower of the puritanical ways. He always said those that cling to their rigid thoughts would bend and break to the great enemy. He taught me to operate in the gray, but also to have the mental fortitude to deny the great enemy the greatest of victories, my soul. Though I may be no psyker, I understand my soul belongs unto him who sits upon the golden throne. We must understand not the scene of the crime, but the why. To understand the heretic leads to the dismantling of his convictions.
I believe your master had a pistol to my head in a room like this when he spoke similar words. You sound like his spitting image. I see why he took you and only you under his wing. Would you be so kind as to light me another?
The Inquisitor slides the litho case and the lighter towards Thaddeus. The faint scratching sound of metal on metal and the low hum of the servo skull is all that can be heard.
Would you like to know why your master died and what caused the faithful to overflow their chains of oppression placed upon them by the corpse emperor?
Of course. Please go on.
Some beings in the imperium, they have a higher calling in the mortal realm. Not all. Most will be destined to bottom feed off the energy your soul produces there. But some need to be freed from that plane. Your master and I found one such being. Rosalith, as ancient as the races that once laid claim to the universe. It is powerful and loving, an entity known to the Grandfather, he who wishes to spread his love. Through our tomes, of which, knowing you, they now lay in ashes where a great library once stood.
Thaddeus tilts his head up and closes his eyes, remembering the great underground library. Satisfaction written on his old features.
It is where I was reborn, where the binding took place, where many innocents were sacrificed to break it free from the Imperium. You must realize it could not walk freely here. It needed something.
What would a foul hellspawn need to walk amongst us? I believe a being of only its power could stir and awaken amongst us. Tell me now, for my patience grows short.
It needed a living host to occupy. Your master thought he could handle the power. He was a willing host. Rosalith devoured his soul and body from within. It's funny how the willing are never good candidates. The unwillingness and resistance is what it feeds on. The host's willpower to resist and eventually give in aids in the binding ritual. After Rosalith consumed your master, he moved on to his final host.
Thaddeus takes a deep drag of the litho stick. He sits up straight. What was once the frame of a frail man in front of the Inquisitor now begins to fill out into a sculpted muscular frame, tearing at the skin, revealing ancient runes etched into his subframe.
It chose me to bring about the Grandfather's realm to this planet and share his love.
Inquisitor Root, frozen in horror, sits unmoving, her world around her shrinking as she knows the next moments of her life will be brief. She sighs. A faint smirk crosses her face.
You will end me here. Though my soul shall go to the Emperor's right hand, I will never falter.
Thaddeus looks down and the shackles explode. Metal shrapnel peppered his mortal form as he begins to levitate from his chair. His mouth opens and a swarm of warp-spawn flies engulf the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor's screams are drowned out by the humming of thousands of insect wings pattering. Thaddeus looks at the servo skull, hovering in the corner.
Little skull, did you get all that? Now go to your master and tell what has happened. How this world will be under the Grandfather's embrace soon enough.
Seek the Ash Path. The Emperor protects. I spoke with a pride I hadn't felt in years. This world will be given one last chance, one good deed to redeem its sins. I was chosen by Lieutenant Samuel as his most trusted guardsman. These words were not said carelessly. He had received a letter written by Lord Commander Tarkle. It was to be delivered without failure. Treachery is abundant, and with his heresy polluting this world, it was impossible to trust anyone. That's why I was chosen. The honor was bestowed upon me as I had proven my loyalty after the events of Castaigne II. Sergeant Laurie and Vanetta would accompany me in my travel. We were expected not to return. There was no hesitation from this. The plan was simple. Navigate from the outpost towards Hive City 5. As we make our way through the outskirts and ascend the lower hives, we will make our way for the Spire. At the Spire, we are to meet with the last astropath trusted by Lord Commander Tarkold. I had never seen this woman, but she is this world's last hope. Before we left to prepare, Lieutenant Samuel emphasized the importance of not taking any chances. We are to avoid any shortcuts to delivering the message. Sergeant Laurie, a man who had fought the warp, ensured we would succeed. Lieutenant Samuel responded with a nod. Suspicion would be our greatest threat. With this world in turmoil, we agreed there was no room for the uniforms. We must become one with the shadows. I looked at the Aquila one last time for donning hive-like attire. The stench was appalling. Vanetta's expression recoiled as she approached me. Her comfort in the attire made me smirk. Laurie looked at us with disdain. You both reek of death. Perfect. May the Emperor guide us on this trek, and we're not in well. He spoke true. The journey to the hive was met with little difficulty. The vast land held passive creatures, and the scavengers we came across avoided us. They knew who we were. They know these lands. As night fell and the outskirts greeted us, we abandoned our stripped chimera, leaving it to the scavengers. I watched as the machine was torn apart. The mechanical would execute us if they saw what we did. The outskirts seemed as polluted as the heresy that plagued our world. Masses of toxins poured into the city, and the population believed themselves free of imperial rule. Disfigured citizens hid from our view as we passed them, but some attempted to take from us. Their lives were ended. Before we entered the city, my thoughts kept eating at me. There was a woman we saved. This woman was running from a mutated man. As their bodies fell from her last pistols, Vanetta went to help the woman up. As she got up, her cloak revealed she had a child growing out of her body. Laurie shot the mutated woman, and Vanetta promptly spoke a cleansing prayer. These outskirts were a lawless land. We approached the lower hive. It was madness. It seemed the city was warring with itself. Most of the traders gained control over the politics, turning others against the imperium. But there was hope. Our father of four took us in as we navigated the streets. He might as well have been the last sane citizen in this emperor-forgotten land. When we reached the lift to get to the upper hive, we gave the man the credits we had. It wasn't enough, but his faith in our cause was strong. It's imperial citizens like him, citizens that kept strong in times of strife, that gave me honor in my life. Once we reached the upper hives, we were appalled by what we saw. What was once a struggle to help citizens below turned into a propaganda outlet for the traders. It seems they held strong with the upper class, feeding pieces of heresy below. Laurie seemed to take it worse than us. He had seen the children who questioned the heretic ways. They were openly executed, left in their blood to prove a message. We had to blend in quickly. Vanetta lured 3 slavers into a room we hid in, and we disposed of their bodies promptly. None of us felt comfortable in their attire. The ceremonial look didn't suit any of us well. When we neared the next lift in the spire, we came across a fellow emperor-fearing citizen. The acts she had witnessed were horrendous. Sacrifices were conducted daily for the dark gods. We learned of the unknown terrors that the upper hive hid, the plague horrors that were threatening to engulf this planet. We learned of the infections that were being made, rituals that spread disease across hives. The Emperor will see us through to the end. I know our cause is true. She guided us closer to the lift, stopping before the next corridor. The lift was guarded by 2 Kasrkins, each equipped with hell guns. As Laurie was devising a plan, the woman stopped him. She told us to wait. Within minutes, an explosion obliterated the 2 men standing guard, and the last efforts of a rebellion had begun. Across the entire hive, hell was unleashed. As we looked toward the lower hives, we could see the massive infighting. I knew there was hope. There was a chance we could redeem this world. It was in our hands. She made the sign of the Aquila and we went to join the ensuing chaos below. Vanetta and Laurie were just as proud to witness such a great uprising in the worst of times. Reaching the spire, we had finally come to our destination. We didn't even make it past the first corridor without being detained. A servo skull idly followed us as a casket brought us to the astropath. She was expecting us. Lori tried explaining why we were there, but the astropath knew us. She knew why. She just didn't know what the message was. She could not obtain the knowledge through us. None of us dared to disobey orders. As I handed her the message, I could see the relief in Bernetta's and Lori's face. We had succeeded. The Emperor had given us a chance and redemption. Our cry for help would not go unnoticed. The astropath took the message. She read it quietly, eyes slowly moving to meet mine. A smile crept across her face as she burned the letter. I never knew what was written. We were never told what the call of help was. Astartes? Another regiment? We had guessed in the few days that followed, but soon found out. What hope we had crumbled that day. The Inquisition showed up, for their fleet sent not a single ship to the planet's surface. Only punishment.